I am somebody who has been a little bit guilty of encouraging you to save 10% of your income or 20% of your income and put that in towards saving and investments and things like that. But in reality, most households struggle to save because there's no money left at the end of the month to save in the first place. Because technically, their problem isn't a savings rate that's too low, but it's a spending rate that is too high. And this causes all of the available household income to be consumed before the end of the month has even reached. Well, there isn't any rule of thumb that gives us any kind of guideline on what your spending rate should be in the first place. But if we look at what our major spending is, I mean, the biggest one technically seems to be our homes, then maybe our cars, then it could be under other lending like personal loans. For whatever reason, we take them out, student loans, etc. But when we do take those loans, the lenders don't really look at what is prudent for the borrower, but they will lend based on the result of what is a permissible loss for the lender. Or simply stated, the borrowing guidelines are based on what the lender believes will extract the maximum amount of interest with an acceptable level of default. Despite the fact that many of these borrowers will never be in over their heads and struggling to make any of their repayments. So spending rate is certainly something that the lenders would look at. So one of the things that we do in the Money 101 course is we do a spending analysis where we look at our needs and versus wants, and we try to categorize our spending according to those two variables. And when we want to make changes or we see that things are out of alignment, the areas that we want to make change in are in the wants areas, not so much the needs area. Now, I'm somebody who's always argued that we should focus more on keeping our hard-earned money instead of trying to get more. And saving rate in the world of personal finance is the same as profit in the world of business. Now, as a business, you must know that the business needs to make some money to turn a profit in order to grow and expand. But we need to realize for ourselves as individuals, we need profit too. So the greater the gap that we can create between our earning and our spending, the faster we are able to grow our wealth and achieve our goals. So I know we focus a lot on saving rate, and I will tell you, focus on saving 10%, saving 20%. But what if we did the reverse and we focused on the spending rate? So spending rate would be your spending divided by your income, and that would give you your rate. And the spending rate is basically the inverse of your savings rate. So if you have an 80% spending rate, then you have a 20% saving rate. And if you have a 5% saving rate, and then naturally you have a 95% spending rate. And because of this, it's easy to dismiss the tracking of your spending as a needless exercise. But what I'm doing for myself is shifting away from an actual savings rate, but looking more at my spending and how I can reduce it. Because essentially, the saving is a side effect of controlling the spending. The two numbers that you actually control in this equation is your ability to earn and your ability to spend. Saving is a byproduct of that. It's not the primary factor, but it's a secondary one. So a lot of folks are on this mission to eliminate their debt. It's their number one financial goal, right? Is to eliminate all of that debt. And to get out of their debt, they do whatever it takes. They're working overtime, they're cutting subscriptions, they're doing whatever it takes to try and knock off that debt. But in that process, they're not building healthy financial habits where the control in spending is happening. Now, when you seek a higher goal, a higher purpose like financial independence, then you are doing the work and establishing those positive financial behaviors. And paying off the debt is a byproduct of trying to achieve that goal. If you boost your income and cut your spending, you will get out of debt. That'll happen without you making it a goal. And if you're clear about your personal mission, then you will achieve financial independence. So essentially, the real key to saving is actually prudent spending. The only two variables that you control is your income and your spending. And you don't directly control your saving. That rises and falls depending on the two other factors. So if you decrease your spending, your saving rate will rise. And if you increase your spending, your saving rate falls. And if you increase your income, your saving rate will rise. And if your income decreases, your savings rate will fall. Now, if you want to save more, you can't tell yourself, this month I'm going to focus on setting aside 15% instead of 10%. So in order for your savings to increase, you have to adjust your spending or your income. To set aside 10%, you need to spend 90% of your income instead of 95%. You need to control what you can. And the biggest reason I'm encouraging folks to shift from saving rate to spending rate is that it puts the focus on what you can actually improve in your situation. You can make adjustments in your spending. Instead of trying to find out where you can find 10, 20% to put towards investing, maybe pay a little bit less to your credit card, etc., focus more on your spending, where you are spending less on takeaways, spending less on going out, spending less on extravagant things. And essentially, your money behavior will change over time. And thereby, the side effect will be you have more effect or you have more control over your spending. Now, as much as I say that you should focus more on keeping more of your money than actually getting more income, if the opportunity to get more income comes about, you grab it with both hands. But for me, the primary thing is make sure I keep the most that I get by paying less taxes in every legal way I possibly can. For example, become better educated, work harder, work smarter, learn how to negotiate your salary, learn a new skill, develop a side hustle, a scalable side hustle. While opportunities to boost income are very low, opportunities to reduce spending happen every single day. Some of the ways you can spend less is by reducing your household costs. And I know it's hard to do if you're a homeowner right now with the interest rates really high, but if you are more flexible, if you're in the renting space, you can downsize, for example. If you're single, you can take on a roommate. Utilize the whole Airbnb back room situation. Focus on transportation. I did a video a couple of years ago that goes viral every time I post it. The vehicle expense ratio. You can control many of those factors. Look at your online subscriptions. All right, our credit cards are out there everywhere, getting billed every month. Are we actually using everything that we're being billed for? All right, so look at those nitty-gritties. Now, because the spending rate is the mathematical inverse of savings rate, you can't really argue that one is more important than the other. They're essentially the same thing, but looked at from different perspectives. Saving is a side effect, not a primary factor. I like the fact that an individual can directly affect her spending. So take some time this week or even after the podcast, re-listen if you need to try and figure out what your spending rate is and make sure that it's the inverse of your saving. And if you find your spending rate is at a 92, 93, set yourself a goal in the next few months. You're going to reduce that by 5%. And that natural reduction allocated towards your savings. All right, I'm Yolanda. Thanks for joining me today on the Wealth Nation podcast. I'd love to know your thoughts about this, so drop me a mail. It's yolanda@financiallyfabulousfemales.com. And remember, if you're looking for financial strategy, financial structure, and how you can leverage the various financial systems in South Africa, reach out. I can help.